Learning a new language has long been a concern of folks who are considering moving overseas, and we've talked for years about how it's actually a lot easier to get by either with English or by learning a new language than you would actually think. But what happens when it comes time to apply for citizenship? Do you need to learn a new language to get citizenship? I'm going to break it down by each category. I really think that the fear of learning a new language is one that's dramatically overblown by folks and that stops people from moving overseas and that stops people from pursuing things like second citizenships. And so I'm going to talk about that today. From a lifestyle perspective, we talked over the years about how there are plenty of places in the world that speak English. For example, where I live in Asia, in Malaysia, you have people who, they may speak a language. If they're Malaysian Chinese, they might speak Chinese. If they're Malaysian Indian, they speak a certain Indian language. They might speak Malay if they're Malay, right? They do. And so on top of all that, people speak English. Singapore, English. A lot of other places in Asia, you can go to pockets where they speak English. Parts of Eastern Europe, parts of Western Europe, they will speak English. So lots of places where people speak English, and if you're watching this, I assume you do as well. There's also the concept that if you're less nomadic than I am, if you have one home rather than multiple homes around the world, or if you want to have all your homes in one place, you can learn Spanish, or you can learn some other language that is useful, and you can use that. So if you're not interested in learning a new language, I want to talk about how that affects you for applying for citizenship, because people often think, hey, if I'm not willing to learn another language, I can't get a second citizenship. So let's talk about that. If it's your first time here, my name is Andrew Henderson, the founder of Nomad Capitalist. We're a boutique consulting firm that helps 7- and 8-figure entrepreneurs and investors legally reduce your taxes, diversify and protect your assets, and increase your freedom with things like second passports to make sure no one government has control over you. You want to have options right now. We also host an annual event called Nomad Capitalist Live, and it's a lot of fun and open to everybody. So here's a question from Dan. When applying for a second citizenship, how helpful is it to speak the native language of the country? And so let's talk about, just from the top to the bottom, ways you can get second citizenship. Citizenship by investment, generally you are not going to need to learn another language. So 5 countries in the Caribbean offer citizenship by investment. You can do that in a matter of months. Their language happens to be English, and so you don't need to worry about that. In fact, that's actually pretty cool, because if you wanted to move to a country like the UK, certain residence permits do require you to have knowledge of English or pass an English test. And so even if you're someone like myself who lived in the United States for a long, long time, grew up there, went to school there, obviously I speak English. If only I had all my other passports, not the Caribbean passport, I would have to go and pass an English test to go to a few different places in the world. They wouldn't just assume, hey, this guy lived in the US for dozens of years, he speaks English. And so a Caribbean passport actually helps, because they're majority English-speaking countries. And so on top of that, even if you don't speak English, you can obtain citizenship in the Caribbean. For the longest time, there were certain programs there that were like 80-90% Chinese. I don't think a lot of those folks spoke English. They had Chinese agents. The government just handled the translations of everything, and they got their citizenship. And so for citizenship by investment in other countries, Turkey, you don't have to learn Turkish. Montenegro, you don't have to learn Montenegrin. I don't really know of any programs. I mean, North Macedonia, you're not learning Macedonian. So, I mean, if you're making an investment, you're basically bypassing the language requirement. It's very rare. I guess there's been one here and there, but it's very rare where they would make you do that. So the deal when it comes to citizenship, right, is it's faster and it's easier when you pay more. That's generally how it works. That's just why a citizenship by descent program, which we'll come to in a minute, is often going to be slower and have more demand. So citizenship by investment, you'll generally be fine whether you speak English or even if you don't. Also in there, fast-track naturalization, exceptional citizenship. You saved a child from a burning building. It caught the president's eye. He gave you citizenship. You came in and hired 500 people. You rebuilt a town square, whatever it is that may qualify. Austria is often used as an example of this, but there are others. Generally speaking, you will waive any not only language requirements, but also restrictions on dual citizenship. So Austria, if you're given citizenship by exception, it's pretty much the one way where you could actually be a dual citizen with Austria and not have to speak German. Now, citizenship by descent. One thing that a lot of people should check is their family tree. Are you entitled to citizenship by descent, which means you have a parent, grandparent, great-grandparent, or in a handful of cases, you can even go back further. Oftentimes, there is no need for that. Helped a friend of mine not so long ago get citizenship in Italy. He not only got it for himself, he got it for his father, and he got it for all of his kids. The one person, by the way, common misconception that was aced out is his wife. She's not Italian. So he can certainly move to Italy, and she can go with him and get a spousal residence permit. and then she can work towards citizenship in Italy, which is going to take longer than other European countries, in which case, as a citizen of an EU member state, he could move to any other EU member state where citizenship might be faster, and she could become a citizen of that country, whether it's Portugal or Ireland or whatever that case may be. So, in that case, she would likely have a language requirement. He does not have a language requirement to get his Italian citizenship because he is entitled to it as of right. He basically, it's like, hey, you're already a citizen, you just need to come and actually claim that you have it and do the paperwork, and we'll give you a passport. There are some times, though, when citizenship by descent does require a language test, and it often varies based on the embassy that you're going through, or if you're doing it directly in the country, or the person that you're dealing with, or the kind of mood that they're in. And this is where citizenship by descent, while valuable, right, it's basically free, other than you need someone to go and track down records and maybe go to the archive in some village. I mean, there's a cost, but it's not like you're donating $100,000. You're not paying a big legal fee. But it's going to be slower because you need to get your documents in order. And you're subject to some kind of whims of whomever is handling it. Now, a country like Canada, for example, or the UK, we've helped some of our clients. They have a Canadian-born parent, British-born parent. They're entitled to get that citizenship. They play it straight. Hungary, for example, where you can go back multiple generations, has it many times a language test. Have seen on occasion someone actually be rejected over the language test. And I kind of wonder if that's not just an excuse. But you may be Hungarian and occasionally may not be able to get it. Poland occasionally has that. It seems like it's less and less. But again, there's times when in Poland they've asked people to take a language test. You've had to speak some kind of Polish. Poland actually has a different option for folks who maybe have lesser ties to the country, where you can actually just get kind of like a Kartapalak ID card, and you can live there. But some citizenship by descent may require it. Generally speaking, they're not. Again, if you're Irish through your parents or grandparents, then okay, there's no language to learn. You can get by with English. Italian, they're not going to require that. Most other countries aren't going to require it. However, occasionally they will in the aforementioned examples and maybe a few others. One thing I do tell you is even if you're not of European ancestry, you have more African countries that are more opaque in terms of citizenship by descent, but they are opening up. You have countries in the Caribbean and Latin America that offer it. Even occasionally you'll see someone get citizenship by descent in Asia. So a lot of places you can look. Europe is perhaps the most flexible in terms of generational distance, but you can look at your family tree and do that. The one issue where you're going to generally need to learn the language is for naturalization. And that may even apply to what we call paper residences. So a paper residence is where I don't want to change my lifestyle, but I want to work towards a second citizenship. I don't want to make a big donation. We're going to be talking about some of these at Nomad Capitalist Live. And they're constantly changing in terms of every couple of years, this one is less effective, this one's more effective. But you can go get a residence permit and you live there for 1 day a year, for example, for 3 years or 4 years or 2 years or 5 years, whatever, any number of years. And you can apply for citizenship after that, and they don't really care about physical presence, or they don't check it, or it's just, hey, this is not a requirement. Any language requirement may still exist. So there are some countries in Latin America, for example, where you're still going to need to learn Spanish. And so the question becomes like, hey, do I want to wait 3 or 4 years, plus maybe some application time, plus I need to learn a language? Is that better for me to get an equal quality passport to what I can get in the Caribbean by donating $100,000, paying a bunch of fees, waiting 6 months, not learning any language, not going anywhere, not having flights? That's an interesting question. If you're a 7 or 8 figure entrepreneur, what's your time worth? What is your effort worth? But for naturalization by paper residence, that's going to be an issue. Obviously, if you move to Germany, they want you to speak German. They've softened that to where it has to be conversational. I think it's a B1 requirement. In Portugal, it may be even a little bit more flexible. So Portugal, if you want to go and actually live in Portugal, if the Golden Visa program is working again, and you want to work towards Portuguese citizenship, that was always an easier requirement. Countries like Ireland, for example, again, if you speak English. Other English-speaking countries in Europe, not a lot of them, at least not a lot of, whether it's the official language, obviously that makes it easier. But if you want to become a citizen of France, if you want to become a citizen of Bulgaria through a non-investment program, any kind of program. I mean, one country people have asked me about historically is Estonia. Estonia is a longer naturalization timeline, strict around dual citizenship, and you've got to learn Estonian. And you have to ask yourself, like, if you want to live in Estonia and make that your new country and you love it, that's great. But as a strategic citizenship, really not that interesting. And so naturalization for most people who are 7 and 8 figure entrepreneurs and investors is not as interesting unless that's where they want to live. Talked to someone recently. Hey, I really want to live in Ireland. I love Ireland. Great. I think Ireland's a great country. And so if you're actually going to put in the vast majority of your time there and you just want to love it and you want to be part of it, being a citizen of some countries with tax incentives of the nature that Ireland has may negate future tax incentives. And so you have to look at that and say, is my desire to be a citizen of this country, have this high quality passport, feel like I'm part of them, like I'm one of them, is that worth maybe losing some tax benefits? So that's a question you have to ask. So generally speaking, if you don't want to learn a language, there may be some kind of investment that can help you, whether it is a Citizenship by Investment program. Obviously, Malta in Europe, English speaking, doesn't have a direct Citizenship by Investment program, but it has an 18-month program. Let's call it a fast track, the MEIN program. You're not going to have to learn a language for that. And again, they speak English. So if you can afford to do those, you're going to save yourself the hassle. If you want to get into citizenship through naturalization, whether it's paper residence or actually going and living somewhere. By the way, there are some countries where you could live there 3, 4, 5 months a year, and you could probably qualify for naturalization. Not every country demands 10 months a year. Certainly certain countries in South America, like Argentina, it's more of a civil law system, and so it's kind of up to interpretation whether you've spent enough time. So in that kind of system, you could spend lesser amounts of time. Maybe it'll work, maybe it won't. But you're still going to generally have to have that language requirement. Okay, so if you're lucky enough to have citizenship by descent, that will generally work unless you happen to be from somewhere in Central or Eastern Europe where they are more strict. Otherwise, investments, fast track, anything like that, that will get you on the path without learning a language. If you're going to spend time somewhere and if you're going to claim citizenship over a number of years, you are going to likely need to learn the language unless you already speak that language. That's going to be something that you're going to have to factor in your second citizenship planning.